Sweltering summers with swarms of pestilent insects, cool autumn breezes wafting the colorful leaves. The crisp crackle of snow, frozen ponds, frozen snow to be relieved by the flood and rains of spring, which has nothing to do with Carltim Palisades, a bastion of podcasts, regardless of what season.
Good afternoon, evening, day, or whatever time it is, folks. That's the glory of the internet. You can just watch us anytime you want. Anytime, like now or later. Or technically now is later, or later is now. Anyways, today we'll be talking about the Hollow Earth theory. Now, I know you've all heard of the flat Earth theory going about, but this is the Pepsi to their Coke.
Actually, the flat Earth theory was originally, it's been part of the human culture, where things are, what is this world made of, and whatnot. But it was a major proponent of that was Edmund Halley.
He invented the comet, right?
He found the comet, and it's named after him. And that's his fame and fortune. And that is one theory that didn't get debunked. But unless you believe in the Hollow Earth theory, and you're entitled to believe whatever you want.
Yeah, totally. It's been a big thing. For since a long time. I believe you know quite a bit about this, about how it's been kind of a thing throughout several cultures throughout the years, like Greeks, Hindus, Aztecs, a few more like that and such.
And also too, and if you ever listen to other radio programs, it's been a topic on the Art Bell and George Norrie, Coast to Coast, which is not a sponsor. And they talk a lot about that. There's a lot of authors that have done a lot of research, and there is loads of this stuff. And yes, maybe even the lizard people would be from below, and they have supposedly some connection to the Illuminati and power matrices in our government and world governance of humans.
Oh yeah, it's been a whole bunch of secret societies for years. Such for example, it all started with this one book by a gentleman. Just a second. His name is Sir Edwin Bulwer Lytton. He coined such terms as "the pen is mightier than the sword" and "it was a dark and stormy night." He wrote a book called the Vril, the Power of the Coming Race. This was a book about how a gentleman, he found his way into the subterranean layers of the middle of the world, and he ran in this race called the Vril, and they had a substance called Vril, and back in the day, even though this was entirely a work of fiction, people took it as science fact, and that started that eventually led into the Thule Society, which eventually had such famous people as Hitler as members back in the day.
Also, popular writers were Jules Verne's Journey to the Center of Earth. I love that. I think it was a early 60s or late 50s sci-fi fantasy kind of thing. And another one is Edgar Rice Burroughs, and Jacques Casanova was also another author that wrote about Hollow Earth theory. And if you want to, look them up, I'm sure it'll be entertaining.
There's been several other researchers going for it. Besides, these science fiction books actually did contribute to a lot of the things kind of going through the theory as well. For example, Jules Verne, Journey to the Center of the Earth, is kind of contributes to the belief that there could be living dinosaurs or other things living underneath the world as well.
There are also different theories of the Hollow Earth theory with Edmund Halley, which was the sphere, and you had these spheres which were magnetically kind of evolved and balanced and within each other, and there's other theories as well to this, which were Cyrus Teed's theory, which was we were on the inside of this globe and we wouldn't really know, and then in the center would be a light source, sun, heat.
Yeah.
And another theory is John Sims, which I think had to do with magnetics, and it gets kind of confusing.
Oh yeah, I was reading up on him. Sims, fun fact, he actually has a monument dedicated to him in Hamilton, Ohio. Fun fact about that city, second biggest city in the greater Cincinnati area. Look at Hamilton, he's going places.
Yeah.
Great city.
I like to, when looking at our these type of theories is kind of Occam's razor is the most well, you don't have to multiply it if you don't have to, take the easiest way out, but it's up to you, the viewer, to decide what is real and what is not. We don't have any hard science, or I didn't really see any hard science or facts other than what Haley was trying to do, which was trying to figure out what the magnetics and understand that, and that's why he came up with spheres. He was close, but he didn't. In his not understanding the center of the Earth with the liquid flow.
Yeah, actually, I was reading up on that too. Apparently, a big part of the reason why he had deduced the Earth was hollow was he was good friends with Isaac Newton, and Newton had deduced it's been kind of debunked that the moon is much more dense than the Earth. So when he was factored in like why is the magnetic pole keep shifting, he kind of took that as maybe the Earth's actually really hollow. That's why it's so much less dense.
I don't know if I think with current seismic technologies and understanding how earthquakes happen, and we can figure out that and what bounces through, and solid actually transmits the waves fairly decently.
Yeah.
And liquid less so, I think, or less dense, but there's a refraction, and I don't understand all of the science to that, but they can figure out densities.
Oh yeah, like
that science.
Oh yeah, like with the seismic technology, I believe they finally last nail in the coffin to this already quickly disproven theory was about 1950s, 60s or so. God, it was John Sims when he first published his book. Not so much a book. It was called Circular Number One. He sent it out to 500 different people. These included heads of states, different philosophical societies, colleges, all that fun stuff, and properly right away, very much so mocked. He did gain quite a few followers, which is what helped turn this into more kind of helped develop the theory quite a bit more. He was even thinking of having his own expedition, but it never really got there.
It's a fun idea to think about.
It really is.
But, whether it's right or not, or truthful, well, that's up to, scientists, that's what their job is, to figure out what is truthful. But you as the viewer, listener, it's up to you to figure out what you enjoy. Yeah. And science doesn't care what you believe.
Yeah. And plus, there's this, they're just fun to play around with. Let's just think about it. Down there, right beneath their feet, could be, reptilians riding T-Rexes fighting mammoths. That's really fun.
Giants.
Oh, yeah, I was reading on that, too. Yeah, it's people going down there, finding their way in one of the holes in the Arctic, and just, hey, here's a 10-foot tall guy who wants to help out humanity. It's just so fun.
Or lizard people. I really like the lizard people.
Oh, same. They just seem like they're just fun guys.
Yeah. I have never met a lizard people yet that I know of. But then again, they may have evolved technologies to disguise themselves as humans, and then, unless you're going to do an autopsy on them.
Oh, yeah. Which I'm sure they won't. I'm sure they wouldn't allow an autopsy.
No, autopsy usually means end of life situation. Unless you're a certified mortician, that's probably not a good thing to do on your own time.
Yeah, who knows? There could be hobbyist morticians out there. I'm sure they're very illegal, but it'd be a fun little thing to do on the weekends.
Yeah. Well, once again, I refer to the Occam's razor. It's if it's really complicated, then you really have to kind of show what that complication is justified with evidence.
Yeah.
And the other theory that I liked was the holes at the North Pole and South Pole, and then the water is coming in at the North Pole and then blowing out at the South Pole, which...
See, I did not see that one, but that actually sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah.
It's it's just one big waterfall.
Yeah.
Nice.
Recycles.
Oh, yeah. Did you come across the story of Richard Byrd, the pilot?
Yep. And he was told by the government to hush his talking about the magical things he's seen flying over both the North and the South.
Oh, yeah. Like how he was flying over the North Pole, he saw living mammoths, because that's a thing. A ton of green areas, and he ran into a gentleman called the Master, who was king of the underground city. Warned him about the nuclear missiles man just created. This was 1947, so a couple of years after the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombings, and he warned them that, hey, humanity is going to die if you keep doing this. And but actually, he never actually came out and said this himself. It was all a secret diary that was found, I believe, later in his life, or maybe right after he passed, and it was never really certified that he actually wrote it.
Secret diaries. I would like to see that. There's always usually some secret thing that is not accessible to the average person.
Yeah.
That's usually with this type of thing. So.
Oh yeah, it's just that's the fun. I mean, that's another fun thing about conspiracies. There's so many things found after secondhand, first-hand evidence, if that makes sense. Like, hey, here's a thing this guy wrote, but also we only found it after he was dead.
Unknown special tablets,
Yeah.
special scrolls that have unforeseen been taken and hidden away. So, I don't know. You, the viewer, are going to have to figure this one out for yourselves. There's a lot of material out there. I myself am a little skeptical on all of this stuff and kind of view a little differently. But
Yeah.
how are you, Devin?
I'd say safe to say I'm fairly skeptical on this. It's a very fun thought experiment. Not really thought experiment. It's a fun thought to think that, hey, all this weird magical stuff is happening under our feet. We just need to get a really big shovel and just dig down and find it. But at the end of the day, it's just like a magical 10-foot tall beings, living dinosaurs, just everything really about it. Like, yeah, God.
Well, I was an old D&D player, and that this just sounds like another one of those things that you just roll the dice on, and hopefully you get a crit.
Oh, go to the underworld, find yourself a drow.
Yeah. With that, I think I don't know. I've exhausted about what I know about this stuff. What about you, Devin?
I've got nothing too much more to say about this. Again, it's a fun theory. It really is. But there's not too much more to say without, yeah.
I guess I wouldn't invest a whole lot of my efforts into defending this, but I would find it entertaining read.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, it's a fun world building thing. So guys, what you should do is subscribe, look at us more, look at his face. It's so pretty. You want to stare at this.
Anyway, thank you for tuning in. Hopefully this was entertaining, and please subscribe, leave comments, and if you would like to have topics, we will review and see what we can do for you.
All right, guys. See you next week.
Bye.